we hear about more people getting laid off every day in Silicon Valley, and even Mark Benioff earlier in the show couldn't commit to not laying off employees, and he's the one who took this 90-day no layoff pledge. That time is coming up, and he called on other companies to take that pledge too. But as long as this goes on and continues to go on, it's getting harder and harder for companies to make those promises. Just how many more layoffs do you think we're going to see?
Well, I would say that it depends on the sector, and in many sectors such as travel, the bulk of the layoffs are behind us, unfortunately. In some other sectors, and maybe technology is one of them, people are kind of living, if not month by month, week by week, and they're trying to make those decisions as to when the economy is going to reopen. Now, luckily, in some sectors, again, technology being one of them, there probably won't be the need for a lot of layoffs. Of course, a lot of it will depend on the shape of the recovery.
So tech has obviously been through the dot-com bust and the financial crisis, but this feels different. And I'm wondering, what do you think the tech ecosystem actually looks like at the end of this?
Well, the tech ecosystem is what really is allowing us to work and live through this entire epidemic. Without technology the way it is today, we wouldn't have home deliveries, we wouldn't have telemedicine, we wouldn't be able to work at home. Even 10 years ago, none of these things would be very, very easy. We wouldn't have the broadband and not only the penetration, but the speeds that we have today, let alone the ability to exercise at home. And of course, you can't lock people into their homes without entertainment. So we have all forms of entertainment. So all of that is a momentum that is carrying us through the COVID-19 epidemic, and that will hopefully be part of our lives, not entirely the way it is today, obviously, but part of our lives as we emerge through this. And will, in some ways, drive the economy of tomorrow.
What advice are you giving your portfolio companies now, especially the ones whose business really is at risk?
Well, we spoke to them very early in the epidemic. We asked everybody to come up with an emergency plan, even those who might not have been affected immediately by the crisis. The foremost, they have to think about cash. Cash is king. They have to emerge out of this crisis with, hopefully at least 1 year's worth of runway in terms of cash. And so that determines pretty much everything that you have to do. That we've unfortunately had furloughs and layoffs in our portfolio, as we've seen pretty much everywhere. But we've tried to minimize that. The people have to take some tough measures and have had to take tough measures.
Now, we're just getting some headlines on the terminal that WeWork's Adam Neumann, the former CEO, is suing SoftBank over a stock deal that was canceled. SoftBank had committed in some form to buying $3 billion of WeWork shares, but then didn't follow through on that. Obviously, just another example of companies not being able to follow through on commitments because of economic issues, and WeWork is an interesting case. Of course, this is a New York-based company. Curious what your thoughts are on this whole situation.
Well, our thoughts are that companies that got into this crisis with weaknesses these weaknesses have been enhanced, and companies that got into this crisis with momentum and strength are going to emerge, as somewhat stronger. In the case of WeWork, that whole, financial structure, the dramatic expansion plans that they had were clearly not viable, clearly not feasible. The crisis, in my mind, I imagine, has only enhanced all these problems because as we go back to work, it's not clear that the WeWork sharing offices concept is going to be the best in order to get people back to work.